The public test branch is back, and with it comes an update that is pretty big. So it's time we break it down and give you everything you need to know from the update, from the dinosaur updates to the new distant calls and map improvements. Let's dive into it all. This update is split into 5 major sections: engine, critter, audio, map, and dinosaur updates. The first one is the engine. For the engine update, Path of Titans will officially be upgrading to Unreal Engine 5.6 from Unreal Engine 5.5. Unreal Engine 5.6 mainly brings a lot of developer workflow stuff, making animating in engine and sequencing a lot easier, but it also can bring hardware ray tracing. However, that won't be making its way to the game unless the developers want to bring it to the game. This will likely also mean that older replays will end up being broken, and with every single engine upgrade, there'll be a flurry of new bugs for you to find. So get on the public test branch, get reporting, because you might get a bug tracker skin. Critters have been updated in this update as well, with some small updates for them, and these are fixed jittery movements and spinning, improvements to critter chase logic, and fixed log warnings for attacking creatures. Then you move into the audio updates. New distant dinosaur calls have been added. These are for 5 dinosaurs. They are Eotriceratops, Dinocheirus, Barsboldia, Tyrannosaurus, and Spinosaurus. I'll have all the calls coupled with a before and after so you can see what they currently sound like and what they sound like on the public test branch. So have a watch and let me know your thoughts. There's been some various map improvements put into this update. Now, when I'm recording this, it's before my Tuesday stream where I went over the update live. So if I do find any specific map updates in the public test branch that I'll be streaming, I'll add a gameplay video section after I've talked about these changes. However, these are the updates. Rock mesh optimizations to Gondwar, fixed waystones on Gondwar, killing players upon getting teleported via flattering the area. Food item optimizations, fixed distant level of details using wrong materials. Wind physics optimizations, ambient flyer optimizations, adjusted Gondwar sun to rise in the east and set in the west, adjusted shadow lightning to improve performance. Updated various mesh generation. Now, I'm more curious about the updated mesh generation and the rock mesh optimizations, because I'd assume that either means the rocks might look a little bit better, they might look less ugly, or they could be less likely to be phaseable. You're less likely to mesh inside the rocks, you know, as you crouch up against them, which is great on either side of things. Now, before we go into the dinosaur specific changes, there are 2 combat updates. They've fixed blocks not blocking charges and fixed some instances of stuttering with Camptosaurus hop away. And now, of course, it's time to talk about the dinosaur stats. There are a lot, and some kind of talk about the next TLC. 27 dinosaurs received updates in this patch, which means you're going to hear me going on about these for a while. 27 is huge, by the way. Pretty sure the roster of the game is like 35 at the moment. I'm not too sure. Is it like 30? 32? I don't know, it's around that area. I might be massively wrong. There are a lot of dev explanations to some of these changes as well, although some can be boiled down to them preparing for certain TLCs. In fact, numerous TLCs were mentioned here, but let's dive right into them. Before I do, I've got a question for you. What do you think of them? Are there any that you hate, any that you love, any that you have opinions on? Comment them. Let's start off with a Kilobator because they've increased bite damage to 65 from 60, merged Shred into Raptor Strikes, decreased slot size to 2 from 3. It's great that it's actually been lowered now. Ceratops, they've increased stamina recovery rate to 0.8 from 0.7. They've added a new effect to Razor Crest, which allows healing effect to persist through bleed at 50% efficiency. For Alderon, they've increased max health to 525 from 475, increased combat weight to 2400, rebalanced health recovery values at smaller growth stages, increased stamina recovery rate to 0.7, increased jump force multiplayer at adult by 15%, decreased bite-based damage to 45, decreased run speed to 1150, and removed Tyrant Roar, Ambush, and Slick Feathers. Essentially, the devs explained it here. They said that they've slowed down the Alderon to fall in line with other updated speed values of other faster playables. They've also done the same for Camptosaurus. They've also disabled various abilities because it's for future Alderon TLCs for its abilities and adjustments. They've also adjusted the combat weight and health to give it more survivability and lethality while it waits for its TLC. Allosaurus is next. They've increased health recovery rate to 1.4, increased stamina recovery rate to 0.75, increased bite damage to 60, increased claw attack damage to 40, increased claw attack bleed amount to 0.6, decreased claw attack bleed amount to 0.6, increased hatchet bite damage to 80, decreased hatchet bite bleed amount to 0.9, increased hatchet bite stamina cost to 2, and they've removed fresh blood, which is sad. Fresh blood was like one of the best abilities for Allosaurus. I'm shocked, but they have said they're doing this while it awaits for its TLC. However, for Fresh Blood, they've made it so Fresh Blood was made a base kit for some of its attacks. And they also said some of this stuff ties into a TLC in the future, but yeah, not massive. For Amargasaurus, they've decreased stamina recovery rate to 0.6666. Anodontosaurus is increased tail smash base damage to 250, decreased crouch stance timer to 5 seconds. For Camptosaurus, they've increased bite damage to 30, increased hop away cooldown to 8 seconds, decreased run speed to 1125, removed lone survivor. They essentially said they've slowed down Camptosaurus to make it more interactive with the rest of the roster and fall in line with other speed changes. For Ceratosaurus, they've added a generic slot, and they've moved the carcass tracker to the generic slot. For concavenator, they've decreased max health to 550, decreased oxygen depletion rate to 0.5, increased oxygen recovery rate to 10, increased stamina recovery rate to 0.7, decreased bite base damage to 50, increased claw attack damage to 35, increased claw attack bleed to 0.5, improved swimming stamina costs, increased ripping kick base damage to 40, increased ripping kick bleed amount to 0.5, replaced swim speed sub with swim stamina, which is pretty neat. For Daspletosaurus, they've increased stamina recovery rate to 0.7. They've reworked Tyrant Roar to work like other call abilities and now only stacks to 2 times. Tyrant Roar now provides 15% damage buff and is usable solo. They've increased crouching speed to 380 from 225. For Deinonychus, they've added a generic slot, and they've moved Nictating Membrane to generic slot. For Deinonychus, they've decreased stamina recovery rate to 0.9, increased tail fan stamina cost to 7.5, increased severed tendon stamina cost to 10. For Urinosaurus, they've rebalanced health recovery values at smaller growth sizes, decreased stamina recovery rate to 0.9. Next is Hatzegopteryx. They've decreased running start acceleration boost to 5% from 50%, which is really sad. For Iguanodon, they've increased stamina recovery rate to 0.7. For Kaiwekia, they've decreased stamina recovery rate to 0.9. For Linovenatrix, they've decreased stamina recovery rate to 0.9 and increased tail fan stamina cost to 7.5. And now we get to some big ones. Megalania is next. They've increased max health to 575, decreased combat weight to 2,600, rebalanced health recovery values at smaller growth sizes, increased stamina recovery rate to 0.7, increased jump force multiplier at adult by 15%, increased fall death speed to 3,000 from 2,600, increased bite base damage to 35, decreased stamina sprint cost to 0.7, increased heavy bite damage to 80, decreased heavy bite cooldown to 7 seconds, decreased run speed to 1,075, and they've removed fetid scent. They've essentially said that they've adjusted the stats to fit with now slower speed and made fetid scent base kit for its damage while it waits for its future ability TLC. For Metriacanthosaurus, they've decreased run speed to 1,050 and they've removed Lone Hunter. For Pycnonemosaurus, they've increased stamina recovery rate to 0.7, decreased charge duration to 6 seconds. For Rhamphorhynchus, they've rebalanced health recovery values at smaller growth stages, decreased stamina recovery rate to 0.9, allowed fishy breath to be used on diving dinosaurs. Sarcosuchus is the biggest one, and one that I'm sure there'll be divisive opinions on. So before I get into it, what are your thoughts on it? They've increased max health to 700, decreased combat weight to 4,500, decreased subadult running speed multiplier to 15%, increased health recovery rate to 1.5, increased stamina recovery rate to 0.666, increased bite base damage to 60, increased bite cooldown to 1.5 seconds, decreased sprinting stamina cost to 2.2 seconds, decreased lunge cooldown to 20 seconds, decreased lunge stamina cost to 10, increased asphyxiating snap oxygen drain amount to 25, increased asphyxiating snap cooldown to 10 seconds, decreased gator dash stamina cost to 40, increased clamp cooldown to 3 seconds, increased clamp stamina cost to 10, slowed down clamp animation, decreased swimming stamina recovery boost to 50%, added second generic slot, clamp has been moved to the generic slot, removed crushing bite and ambush. They've done this to make Sarcosuchus less frustrating to play against and play as due to its polarizing playstyle while they wait for its TLC. They've rebalanced the stats to bring back the mega croc that it was originally, and they've given it more of a brawler or a launch brawler playstyle and greater land mobility so it can thrive more on land while also being less frustrating to play against with circle bite charge spam. Clamp was moved to the generic slot to allow for more usage out of it, also receiving adjustments to be less frustrating to play against. Now we move into the rest of things. Struthiomimus, they've decreased sprinting stamina cost to 0.31, decreased on alert timer to 5 seconds, replaced speed species with jump height, decreased run speed to 1,150. For Styracosaurus, they've increased stamina recovery rate to 0.7. For Suchomimus, they've decreased bite damage to 50. They've added a generic slot, moved Nictating Membrane to generic slot. For Lacedromius, they've increased max health to 550, increased combat weight to 2,100, rebalanced health recovery values at smaller growth stages, decreased stamina recovery rate to 0.9, decreased bite damage to 35, decreased sprinting stamina cost to 0.7, decreased slot size to 2, increased running speed to 1000, and removed Lone Hunter and Land Runner. Now, they've said they've made Philosophromius less frustrating for foul players to play, and it fits in with its future TLC. Once again, that's another TLC mentioned. And finally, we have Rex. They've added weight values to clamp at smaller growth stages, added second generic slot, and they've moved the clamp to generic slot. And that's all the combat updates, all the dinosaur updates. There's some big ones there, some hopeful news about TLCs. We've got further acknowledgement about the Thalasso, Megalania, Allo TLCs to be examples there. What are your thoughts on these changes? Are you a Sarco main? Are you a Foul main, a Megalania main? Whatever main you are you one of the 27 ones that have been updated? And what's your thoughts on the updates? I've got one last thing to cover, and that's the general fixes. So let's go ahead and show them off. Hello everybody, there is actually something that I had to hop in game for this video, and that is to do with concavenator. Now, I was pointed out by this on stream, so I went ahead and checked on stream. There are some updates to some concavenator skins. I have a video here which is of the concavenator skins on the main branch, and we're going to compare them to it on the live or the public test branch at the moment. So the default skin I don't think has had any changes by the look of the video and the comparison. However, one skin has changed, and that looks to be the spotted skin. So this is on pattern 3, right? And it looks very, very different to the one on the spotted skin, right? And if you look at the different patterns, there's pattern 1. If I just really quickly show you pattern 1. Oh, wait. So that's pattern 3, sorry. That was pattern 3. This is pattern 1. As you can see, it does look a little bit different. And then you've got, I think, pattern 2. And, of course, this is pattern 2. And as you can see, there are some subtle updates to it. It's definitely a lot more spotted, and it's less, like, obtuse in a way. In terms of its colours, it feels like it's got more texture in. People claimed on my stream that Conker's had a slight texture update. I can't actually tell if it has or not. So if anyone wants to point that out for me, feel free to do so. The other skin that's gotten some updates is actually the next one, and that's Blue Tongue. Now, if we look at pattern 3, which is this one, as you can see, it's definitely looking a lot more, well, stood out compared to the one before. It looks a lot more brighter. You've got more colorations, and the pattern has changed slightly. In terms of the other patterns, here they are here, and so those are the changes. And if we go back through to the video, I'm just going to have a quick check. So you've got pointed, which hasn't changed. This is on pattern 2. Yeah, pattern 2 has not changed by the looks of it. And then you go to the next skin, which is banded. Banded also hasn't seemingly changed. If I just go to pattern 1, you can have a quick look here. You can let me know if that's changed. It doesn't look like it's changed, has it? And then if we go over to whale shark, I don't think this one has changed either. It's going to be a hard one to change. Actually, speaking of which, does it look like Conker's had a texture update when you look at the comparison? I can't really tell. But let's go ahead to the other skin, which is the last one that I had noticed in the video that got some updates, is Brightfoot. So if we go to pattern 2, this is pattern 2 here, and this is pattern 2 on the comparison video. You can tell that there has been some updates to both Brightfoot and the Blue Tongue skin and spotted skin. Now, there was one other thing that has been updated with the concavenator. I don't have a before and after for this, but if you are a keen-eyed individual, if I just set my hunger to 40, there's been some apparent updates to the eating animation. Now, I don't know if the eating animation itself has been updated, but people did point out that there was an update to the swallow animation. So I'm just going to let it play for you. I'm going to really quickly just stop eating and swallow a chunk of meat. And there you go. We'll pick up again, swallow another. It does a weird thing at the end that looks like it's going for a drink. But yeah, those were the updates I wanted to quickly mention. They were pointed out to me in my stream yesterday. And so there you go. Those are the updates I wanted to mention. Let's get back to the rest of the video. I don't know actually where we are in the video or where I'm going to slot in. So, generic fixes. There isn't actually much here, so let's just rattle through them. They fixed modded server checkbox not working properly, fixed a button to continue not working on Switch, fixed asset swapping optimizations, fixed Archon crashes, fixed log spam for empty physics assets, improved skin shader updated for Venom/Toxin, updated nesting invites to be more accurate, fixed log spam from some abilities, fixed creator mode not displaying object stats properly, fixed core menu conflicts with sit inputs, core menu fixes when using hold and release, and fixed log warnings for attacking critters, which was mentioned earlier. And that's it. That's the whole PTB update. It was a big one. That's a lot of dinosaur stat changes right there. So let me know your thoughts about these stat changes. Some of them are big. Foul dropping down a slot, a kilo dropping down a slot, mentions of TLCs as well. It's very exciting times. But that is that. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to check out a new video, check out this video where I talked about things that Path of Titans can learn from its rivals. It's a nice video, just a discussion video, a very open-ended topic. I recommend you check it out. There's some really good suggestions there, like weather events or more combat mechanics and stuff like that. Anyways, I'll see you later. Have a great day. Peace.